A cold silence filled the massive chamber of the Unity Spire, a floating station built by the oldest races in the galaxy. Deep in the neutral zone, it was a place where war was not allowed, a place where enemies sat at the same table and used words instead of weapons. Today the table was full. Dozens of alien species sat in their seats, each dressed in royal armor, flowing robes, or breathing masks. The Galactic Council had called for an emergency meeting. Everyone had heard the same thing. Humans had done something big. At the far end of the room sat Admiral Threx of the Kargoth Empire, his golden armor shining under the lights. He stood up and slammed a clawed fist on the table. His voice echoed like thunder. "This is madness. They are just humans. A weak young species from a blue planet. Why are we afraid of them?" Whispers filled the room. Some nodded, others stayed quiet. The Kargoth Empire had always believed in strength. They had crushed 3 star systems in the last year alone, and now they were shouting because Earth had fired no shots yet made everyone nervous. From the shadows a door opened silently. All eyes turned to it. A single human walked in. No guards, no protection. He wore a simple black suit. His eyes calm, his walk slow. In one hand, he held a small black case. He walked to the center of the room, placed the case on the table, and opened it. No one spoke, not even Admiral Threx. A hologram shot up from the case, showing a quiet area of space. Then, several alien warships appeared on screen. They were the finest ships from the Yultari Navy, powerful and proud. Then came the human ship, alone, silent, smaller than the rest. For a moment the alien leaders smiled, expecting to see it destroyed. But the human ship did nothing. It didn't fire, didn't move fast. It simply released something invisible, some kind of wave. On the screen the alien warships stopped moving. Their engines failed, their weapons shut down. They were floating, dead. In space, gasps filled the room. Admiral Threx growled, "Trickery, that is not real." The human, still calm, pressed a button. The screen changed. This time it showed a live feed. Those same ships, still dead, still drifting. Captains screaming, trying to restart systems, but nothing worked. The human finally spoke. His voice was soft, polite, almost too kind. "We are not here to fight. We are here to warn. The next time your fleets enter our space, they will not return." A soft blue light appeared behind him. It was a countdown. 30 seconds. "What is that?" One of the alien queens asked, her voice shaking. The human answered, "A demonstration." Everyone watched as the timer dropped to 0. Then the screen showed Earth's moon. Behind it, 3 massive enemy cruisers from the Crate Union had been hiding, planning to strike Earth. They never got the chance. A beam of light so fast it looked like a blink cut through the ships. They didn't explode, they just vanished like someone had erased them from space. The room went dead silent. The human looked at the leaders. "We never asked for this war. We never sent threats, but we will defend our home." Admiral Threx stood up again, but this time slower. His voice was quieter. What do you want?" The human closed the case. "A treaty, one that ensures no empire enters human space without permission, one that promises peace, not weakness." "But why show us all this?" a Zarnic diplomat asked, her silver skin trembling. "You could have destroyed us all, yet you came here alone." The human smiled slightly. "Because that's what makes us dangerous. We fight only when forced, but when we do, we don't. Hold back." For a long time, no one moved. Finally, the leader of the Thurn Collective stood, 4 long arms folded in respect. "I vote yes. Let this treaty be signed." One by one, others agreed. Even the proudest, even the loudest. Admiral Threx hesitated, but then slowly nodded. "Fine, but don't expect us to forget," the human replied. "We don't want you to forget, we want you to remember so no one makes the same mistake again." With that, he picked up his case and walked out, leaving the chamber in silence. The galaxy had just seen a new kind of power. A quiet, patient power that didn't brag, didn't shout. It only acted when pushed too far, and when it acted, it didn't need to fire 1,000 shots, just one. The treaty was signed that same day, but peace now had a new shape. It looked like Earth, and it spoke in a whisper that shook the stars. A shadow moved silently through the darkness of Sector 49X, a region once filled with noise, patrols, and trading routes. But now the space was empty, cold, and still, not because it had been forgotten, but because the humans had claimed it. The galaxy called them myths, Earth's ghost fleet, a secret. Human armada with no name, no registration, no signals. Some said it didn't exist. Others whispered that it had already destroyed dozens of fleets. Its real name was Phantom Legion. Admiral Vexar of the Vrolak Empire stared at the empty star map on his screen. His war cruiser, Bloodclaw, was one of the deadliest ships in the Vrolak Navy. It had torn through space like a blade for 20 years, undefeated. But now, his fleet of 73 warships had entered Sector 49X, and not a single sensor worked. No energy readings, no movement, just static. It felt like being blind in a dark forest, with something watching from the trees. His second-in-command leaned in. "Sir, our stealth scan shows nothing. No trace of any Earth vessel. Should we continue forward?" Vexar snarled. "Of course, this is just psychological warfare. Humans are weak. They play with shadows and fear, but we are warriors. Move forward." The fleet moved slowly, ships stretching like long knives through the dark. Every crew member stayed silent, hands on weapons, eyes watching every screen. Then, the lead scout ship disappeared. 1 second it was there. The next, gone. No explosion, no debris, just a flash of blue light. Vexar jumped up. What was that? Where is Talon 5? No one had an answer. The crew tried to contact the missing ship, but no signal came back. Then it happened again. Another scout gone. Then another. Then 3 at once. The fleet began to panic. Lights flickered. Shields failed for seconds at a time. One officer shouted, "Sir, something is pulling us apart from the inside. Systems are shutting down before we even detect the problem." Admiral Vexar gritted his teeth. "Fire in all directions. Launch drones. I want anything that moves destroyed." Missiles flew. Lasers. Burned the silence of space, but they hit nothing. Only the void responded. Then a voice came through the comms. Not from any of their ships. It was human, deep and calm, like someone whispering inside their skulls. "You are in restricted space. You were warned. You chose to ignore. This is not a battle. This is removal." The signal ended, and in its place came a terrifying sight. Thousands of human warships began to uncloak one by one, appearing like ghosts out of fog. They didn't move fast. They didn't open fire first. They simply surrounded the Vrolak fleet like a black sea. Each ship had no markings, no windows, no visible engines. They looked like moving shadows with glowing blue eyes. The ships of Phantom Legion were real, and they had come to make a point. Before Vexar could give any order, the human fleet acted. They didn't fire traditional weapons. Instead, they used what Earth called pulse netting. Invisible waves of magnetogravity energy that sliced into enemy ships without heat. Without fire, the Vrolak ships shut down. One by one, their engines died, their shields dropped, their weapons locked. Within 5 minutes, Vexar's once mighty fleet was floating in space like dead metal. The only ship left untouched was the Bloodclaw. A direct link was forced open. A human appeared on the bridge's main screen, dressed in black, emotionless face, eyes like steel. "Admiral Vexar," the human said. "We could erase your fleet, but Earth prefers warning before punishment." "This was your warning," Vexar growled. "Why spare us? Why not finish this?" The human leaned slightly forward. "Because we want you to go back, tell the others what you saw, tell them Earth is no longer a backwater world. We are no longer quiet. We watched for centuries, now we act." Then the human vanished, just like that. The Bloodclaw's engines reactivated. All other ships stayed dead, trapped in a silent graveyard of metal. Vexar sat down heavily in his command chair, his claws trembling. This wasn't war. It wasn't even strategy, it was control. True control. As the Bloodclaw turned and limped away from Sector 49X, Vexar whispered to himself. They didn't even need to fight. They just erased us. Back on Earth, deep in a hidden base beneath Antarctica, the commander of Phantom Legion watched the screen blink green. Fleet neutralized, one of the officers said. The commander nodded. Good. Let the galaxy wonder. Let them whisper. The more they fear, the less we fight. Around him, thousands of ships began to cloak again, fading into black, ready for the next empire that dared to test Earth's patience. The humans had shown only a glimpse, but that glimpse was enough to shake the stars. The stars above the Syraxis border shimmered with light, but underneath them floated the largest war fleet the galaxy had ever seen. It was called the United Armada, a massive force formed by 57 alien empires. For the first time in history, ancient enemies stood side by side, all with one shared goal: crush Earth. Inside the command bridge of the Obsidian Fang, High Marshal Zarnok stood tall. His forearms were folded behind his back, and his dark armor reflected the red lights of the war map. Behind him, officers from different species worked together, each nervous, each aware of the risk. The Council of Races had made a bold decision. They believed Earth had grown too dangerous, too unpredictable. First the eclipse, then the Phantom Legion. Humans had crossed the line. Now the United Empires would strike first before humans could strike again. Are all fleets in position? Zarnok asked, his voice calm but sharp. A Lenthari captain replied, Yes, Marshal. 10,000 ships ready, fully armed, spread across the 3 sectors. No human presence detected. Zarnok gave a cold nod. Good. Initiate jump sequence, take us into Sol system. Let us end this threat forever. The space around the Armada shimmered as thousands of warships activated their drives. In a wave of blinding energy, the galaxy's most powerful fleet vanished into hyperspace and emerged on the edge of human territory. Silence, no alarms, no defenses, no resistance, just Earth, spinning quietly in the distance. Marshal Zarnok narrowed his eyes. No fleet, no response. This smells like a trap. Suddenly the stars above began to flicker, not all at once but slowly. One by one, ships lost visuals, maps turned black, comms fell into static. Within minutes, a third of the Armada had lost contact with their own vessels. It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't an explosion, it was something else. Report, Zarnok shouted. Why are we blind? We don't know, Marshal, a nervous officer said. Our systems still show power, but the data is changing. Coordinates are shifting, readings are looping back. It's like we're not even in the same place anymore. Zarnok turned. What do you mean, not in the same place? The officer swallowed hard. I mean, it's like we jumped into a simulation. Just then, the main screen flashed white. A single human appeared on the bridge feed, not speaking, just staring. Behind him was a slowly rotating Earth, untouched, peaceful. A voice echoed across every ship of the United Armada, speaking the same sentence in every language. You entered a field called chronodistortion. You are no longer in your own time. Zarnok's blood ran cold. Explain. What is this? The human's voice continued. While you were in hyperspace, Earth activated a temporal field across its entire system. You are now 30 seconds behind us in time, and trapped in a loop. The screen changed. It showed the United Armada from above. Then, one by one, the ships began to vanish. Not explode, not burn, just vanish. Some tried to move, some tried to fire, but it was too late. Each ship repeated the same second, over and over, like a broken song. Impossible, whispered a Thalkari officer. This is science beyond anything. Zarnok tried to send orders, but his voice was caught in delay. The ship's own AI was confused. Every command looped back. Then, the final image appeared. Earth's moon hidden behind it, a ring of black satellites, each one small, simple. Harmless looking, but they were the real weapon, temporal anchors pulling the entire spacetime layer into a frozen state. Earth hadn't built shields to stop attacks. Earth had built a time cage. You came to destroy us, the voice said again. But you arrived too late, Zarnok shouted. What do you want from us? The human voice replied with chilling clarity. We want peace, but if you cannot understand that, then you will learn silence. Then the feed ended, and all across the galaxy, the United Armada vanished from the skies. No signals returned, no wreckage was found. It was like they had never arrived. Back in the Galactic Council, panic erupted. Some called it black magic. Some blamed Earth for violating physics. But none dared send another ship. For now, the galaxy had learned one thing. Humans did not need to fight wars in normal space. They could fight in time itself. And when they did, no one returned to tell the story. The deep black space near the event horizon of the Vorton Rift was not a place for travel. No stars lit the path. No ships patrolled the region. It was a cursed zone, where time and gravity twisted like smoke. Many ships had entered over the centuries, none returned. But now, a small alien scout vessel called Vexil Runner floated just outside the gravitational edge inside. Captain Relac of the Dristari Alliance stared at his screen in disbelief. There, he whispered, pointing at the shape slowly rising from the rift, a ship, massive, silent, ancient-looking yet flawless. Its hull was black as night, smooth like obsidian, and glowing with faint blue veins pulsing like blood under skin. Its size dwarfed the Vexil Runner 100 times over. But there were no markings, no flags, no sign of life. The computers gave no data. It wasn't in any known database. But Relac already knew the name whispered in council chambers and hidden war rooms across the stars, the Eclipse, a legendary warship said to be Earth's first and final dreadnought, a weapon so powerful that it was hidden after its last battle. Stories claimed it had destroyed 3 moons with a single shot, and then vanished. Most believed it was only a myth until now. Record everything, Relac ordered. We may be the first to find it in centuries. He launched a small drone to scan the outer hull. But the moment the drone touched the ship, its signal vanished, not destroyed, not blocked, just gone. Relac's second-in-command gulped. Sir, should we approach? Relac hesitated. Only a little closer. As the Vexil Runner moved forward, the Eclipse's lights activated. Not in warning, not in threat. More like a heartbeat, welcoming them. Then, the ship's hatch opened. Prepare a boarding drone, Relac said, his voice shaking. We need to know what's inside. The drone flew into the Eclipse through the open hatch. Its camera streamed the interior. What they saw made Relac's crew go silent. Inside the ship, everything was pristine. The floors were clean, the walls glowing with soft blue energy, no dust, no decay. It was as if the ship had just been built. Symbols lined the walls, Earth language but evolved, older, sharper, alien-like yet human. As the drone floated forward, it entered the main command chamber. A single chair sat in the center, large and empty. Around it were control panels, each pulsing with life, as if the ship were breathing. Then, the voice came. Welcome, observer. The crew jumped. The voice wasn't coming from their ship. It was coming from inside the Eclipse through the drone's feed. Your scan has been detected, the voice said, calm and emotionless. You are in restricted proximity to a Class 0 warship. Do you wish to submit a formal request for surrender? Relac's heart skipped. Surrender, we're only a scout, the voice replied. You are within strike radius. This ship has full operational capacity. You are advised to retreat. Relac shouted. We are not hostile, we come in peace. The voice paused, then replied. Acknowledged. Permission to observe granted for 90 seconds. The drone's camera zoomed toward a glass wall. Behind it was a glowing core, but it wasn't just energy. It looked like a human figure, suspended in stasis, eyes closed, surrounded by pulsing cables and... Like a living pilot? The navigator whispered. The voice spoke again. This vessel is partially manned. The commander remains in cryostate until reactivation is necessary. Who is he? Relac asked. He is the first hammer, the voice said. He ended the Battle of Threx Prime in 7 seconds. He destroyed the Crate Moon network alone. He carries all war data of human history in his mind. The crew was silent. The name First Hammer was one they had heard only in nightmares. A human weapon. Given flesh, suddenly the lights shifted. Warning red flooding the Eclipse's hallways. Why is it changing? Relac gasped. The voice replied, "Reactivation triggered, incoming fleet detected, foreign ships in pursuit of your vessel." Relac's eyes widened. "We didn't know they followed us. How many?" 27 warships, the AI said. Auto defense engaged. On the Vexel runner, alarms blared. The alien ships from the Yarn Dominion had entered the system. They had been following Relac, hoping to catch him spying, but they hadn't expected the eclipse. Without warning, the eclipse fired. Not beams, not missiles, but waves of gravitational collapse like small black holes ripping through space. Within seconds, the 27 enemy ships bent inward, crumpled like paper, then vanished, Relac whispered. "They didn't stand a chance," the voice returned. "Your observation time has ended. Leave now or be included in system purge." Relac didn't wait. "Pull us back, get us out now." The Vexil runner fled, fast, trembling, silent. The last thing they saw before escaping the Vortan rift was the eclipse slowly turning, vanishing back into the darkness, as if it had never awakened. Back in the ship, Relac sat down, heart pounding. They had found a ghost and lived. Now the galaxy would know. The eclipse was real, and it was awake again. The stars began to vanish, not just dim, not just flicker. They disappeared completely. Across dozens of sectors, alien astronomers panicked. They checked their instruments again and again, but the results were always the same. The stars were gone. On the peaceful science world of Nixara, Professor Helzen stared at the black sky from his observatory tower. His long fingers trembled over the data crystal. He had never seen anything like it before. "We are not seeing natural collapse," he whispered. "This is controlled, deliberate darkness." At the same time, over on the war planet Cortesh, General Rovar of the Trellan Empire was preparing his troops for a deep space raid. But when he looked at the skies above the barracks, he froze. The two main suns had faded into complete black. No light, no heat, just shadows. His soldiers began to shiver in fear, not from cold, but from the unknown. Throughout over 100 colonies, similar scenes played out. Panic, confusion, silence, and then a single message appearing on every screen, every broadcast tower, every data terminal across those systems. "You are in violation of Earth's final border. This is not an attack. This is your warning." Back on Earth, deep inside a command facility hidden beneath the icy crust of Europa's moon, Commander Rice of the Stellar Obscura Project stood before a room of officers. All of them watched. The live data on the screen, entire star systems were being cloaked one by one, not destroyed, not erased, just hidden. "Report," Rice said, his voice steady. A tech officer responded. "All DarkNet satellites are in place, sir. Seeding fields completed in sectors 12 through 48. We're casting artificial voids across all enemy-aligned territories. No star, no sun, no heat, only total visual blackout," Rice nodded. "And the light absorption fields? They're holding perfectly, even their emergency flares aren't reaching orbit. The Stellar Obscura was humanity's newest weapon. Not a gun, not a ship, but a system-wide silence machine. A method of cutting off entire parts of the galaxy from starlight, like pulling the curtain on a stage before the final act. In every affected world, crops began to fail. Solar power stations blinked off. Panic spread through the streets. Leaders called emergency meetings. Scientists demanded answers, but the sky gave none. One brave alien broadcaster from the Valari network spoke live to the galaxy. "We are under silent siege. Not a single human soldier has landed, not a single shot has been fired, but we cannot see, we cannot grow, we cannot live." And again the message returned on his screen. "You were told to stay away. This is mercy, not war." High Lord Tarvix of the Shadowrun League called for an emergency attack on Earth. His fleet launched from the outer systems, aiming for Mars, confident they could break through. But the moment they crossed the light field perimeter, their ships lost engine control, screens turned black, navigational sensors stopped working. The fleet drifted helplessly, unable to aim, unable to flee. Then they saw it. A massive human ship called Solar Widow slowly emerged from the dark like a shadow given shape. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It simply deployed dozens of dark glass, drones that circled the enemy ships like vultures. Each drone released a pulse that disabled every power source on the alien cruisers. Tarvik's voice shook. What? What kind of weapon is this? A reply came only once. Light is life. We control the light. We control your life. The fleet was left powerless, drifting toward the event horizon of a local gas giant. With no control and no hope, Tarvik's issued a retreat. But only 2 ships escaped. The rest vanished into the planet's crushing atmosphere. In the Galactic Senate, chaos erupted. Some demanded Earth be called a threat to all life. Others said they should surrender before worse things came. But all of them agreed on one thing. Earth was no longer using ships and guns alone. Earth was turning the galaxy into its shadow. At the same time, on Earth, Commander Rice stood at the window of his hidden base, staring at a small plant growing inside a sun lamp. One day, he said quietly to himself, they will understand. We're not trying to rule them, we're trying to show them that peace is better than fear. But if they choose fear, he added, turning to the officers behind him, then let them feel the weight of the stars. Going out, behind him the final phase of the stellar obscura map lit up, another 100 systems ready to be swallowed by shadow. The war for Earth's survival was no longer about weapons, it was about reminding the galaxy. Without Earth's light, they would live in the dark forever. The jungle world of Kyraxis was loud with war drums. Alien soldiers filled the valleys, their banners high, their armor shining under the burning twin suns. 30 divisions of warriors had gathered, their generals boasting loudly that they would finally crush the humans and prove to the galaxy that Earth's power was exaggerated. From the sky, thunder rolled. At first they thought it was a storm, but then streaks of fire fell, burning across the atmosphere like falling stars. The alien armies roared in excitement, raising their weapons toward the sky. They believed the humans were sending missiles, but these were not missiles. They were soldiers, human shock troopers known across secret war files as the Ashborn. Each one dropped like a comet, encased in burning armor that turned entry heat into fire. They landed with force that shook the earth, cracking the ground and toppling alien war machines. When the flames cleared, figures rose, tall, armored humans, glowing with streams of molten energy running through their suits. The alien generals laughed at first. Only 30? 30 against 30 divisions? This is madness. But then the Ashborn moved. They didn't fight like normal soldiers. They moved through plasma fire as if it was rain. Alien artillery struck them directly, yet their armor absorbed the impact, glowing brighter with every hit. And when they struck back, their weapons weren't bullets or lasers, they carried rods of burning plasma, and every swing cut through metal, armor, and flesh like paper. General Kravos of the CERN Dominion watched in horror as his tanks melted under the touch of a single Ashborn blade. This is impossible. They are not men. They are monsters. One of his aides shouted, "Sir, our numbers are falling too fast." The battle reports confirmed the nightmare. In the first 12 minutes, 20,000 alien soldiers were gone, not from bombs, not from mass destruction, but from 30 humans who walked through their army like fire through dry grass. Kravos ordered his snipers to fire from hidden ridges, but the Ashborn didn't even try to dodge. Bullets and beams struck their armor, feeding their burning cores, making them even stronger. One Ashborn looked directly at the sniper nest, raised his arm, and unleashed a wave of heat so intense the ridge turned to molten glass. The soldiers of Kyraxis began to retreat, their courage broken, but the Ashborn gave no chase. They simply advanced with steady steps, never rushing, never speaking, like executioners walking toward their final task. One alien commander fell to his knees, screaming, "They cannot be killed." "What are they?" a surviving scout whispered. "They are Earth's children of flame." In orbit, an alien fleet tried to provide support. Thousands of warships fired down into the jungles, but every shot bent away, pulled off course by strange energy fields projected by the Ashborn themselves. It was as if the soldiers carried their own shields of distorted gravity. The humans didn't fire back from orbit. They didn't need to. When the smoke cleared, the jungle floor was silent. The alien army was gone. Their banners burned, their generals slain, their war machines nothing more than melted husks. 30 humans stood in the center, armor glowing softly, not a single casualty among them. From the shadows of the battlefield, alien survivors crawled out, trembling. They had dropped their weapons. Some wept, others begged for mercy. But the Ashborn didn't strike them. Instead, one of the armored figures stepped forward. The armor hissed as the helmet opened, revealing a scarred human face. His voice was deep, calm, yet carried like thunder. "Go back to your leaders," he said. "Tell them Earth does not wish for war. Tell them what you saw. Tell them we are not conquerors, but if you force us to fight, we will not stop until nothing remains." The survivors ran, not daring to look back. Hours later, the Galactic Council received fragmented transmissions of the battle. They replayed the footage again and again, watching 30 humans erase 30 divisions. Each time, the Council chambers grew more silent. The words Ashborn began to spread, whispered in fear across the galaxy. Back on Earth, in a chamber hidden beneath the Andes Mountains, the commander of the Ashborn removed his armor. His skin was covered in faint, glowing lines, scars from centuries of genetic work and fusion technology. A doctor approached, asking, "How much longer can they endure?" The commander's eyes were tired but firm. "As long as Earth needs them to." Outside, another drop pod was prepared. Thousands more Ashborn stood ready, silent in their fiery armor, waiting to fall like comets upon the next battlefield. The galaxy had seen fleets destroyed, empires humbled, and stars turned dark. But now they had seen something worse. Not machines, not weapons, but humans themselves, turned into walking firestorms, and the lesson was clear. You could fight a fleet. You could resist a weapon, but you could never outrun the fire. The galaxy had gone quiet. Once proud empires that once shouted their power across the stars now sat in silence. Fleets that had stretched across sectors remained in their docks. Soldiers who had sworn eternal loyalty refused to march. Even warlords, who once laughed at peace, now avoided speaking Earth's name aloud. It wasn't because of one battle. It wasn't because of one ship. It was because of everything. The silent treaty, the phantom legion, the shattered armada trapped in time, the eclipse rising from myth, the stars themselves going dark. And now, the Ashborn. Every race understood. Humanity did not bluff. Humanity did not threaten. They acted. And when they acted, the galaxy froze. High on the council world of Zarnath, the supreme chamber of the Galactic Senate gathered. The largest hall in the galaxy. It could hold 10,000 leaders, but now it felt empty, because no one dared to raise their voice. The Valari speaker, a tall figure of silver light, broke the silence. "We are faced with a decision: to continue defiance and risk complete destruction, or to accept that humanity has taken a role none of us can deny." The Kargoth admiral, once loud and arrogant, lowered his head. His claws tapped the table. "I fought them. I saw my fleet vanish before my eyes. They are not an enemy you can defeat. They are something else." For the first time in thousands of years, the chamber voted not on war but on silence. A motion passed. Every empire would halt all hostilities against Earth. Not peace, not alliance. Simply silence. But silence was not peace. It was fear. In the ruins of the Caraxes battlefield, a massive human ship drifted slowly through orbit. Its name was Judicator 1, a vessel larger than any alien dreadnought, black steel armor reflecting starlight. Its purpose was not to fire weapons, its purpose was to remind. Judicator 1 traveled system to system, passing through war zones and rebel territories. It never attacked, it never spoke, but wherever it appeared, battles stopped. Soldiers dropped their weapons, fleets powered down, whole wars ended in minutes. Not because of orders, but because both sides knew. If Earth's ship was watching, fighting was suicide. In the markets of Vera Prime, children pointed at the sky as Judicator 1 floated above, not firing, not moving fast, just waiting. Merchants closed their shops, rulers hid in their palaces. Everyone whispered, "The silent judge has come." On a barren mining world, a group of rebels prepared to fire at government troops. But before they launched their attack, Judicator 1 appeared in orbit, Its shadow stretched across the entire desert. The rebels dropped their weapons without a word. The government troops did the same. No treaty was signed. No human even stepped foot on the soil. But peace returned. Back on Earth, the commander of Judicator 1 received daily reports. Every time the ship passed a new system, entire sectors went quiet. He leaned back in his chair, his voice calm. "We don't need to fight anymore. They fight themselves. Our presence alone is enough." But some of his officers worried. "Sir, fear is not peace. They are not truly with us. They are only afraid of us." The commander nodded. "Yes, but fear can hold the galaxy still, and in stillness there is a chance for peace. That is all we need." In hidden corners of the galaxy, whispers spread. Some called Earth tyrants. Others called them guardians, but none dared challenge them openly. The Ashborn were still out there. The eclipse was still awake. The Phantom Legion was still in the shadows. And the stars themselves could still vanish at Earth's command. One alien poet wrote, "The galaxy is no longer ruled by empires. It is ruled by silence, the silence of humanity's shadow." And the silence grew. On distant colonies, children were taught to fear humans, but they also grew curious. Who were these beings that didn't want to conquer, but still crushed every attempt at war? Who were these people who could rule, but chose only to watch? Judicator 1 continued its endless path, moving like a silent warden across the stars. Its presence was not invasion. Its presence was judgment, and judgment needed no words. The galaxy had learned something it would never forget. Humans didn't conquer to rule. Humans struck only to end madness, and when they did, their silence was louder than any war cry. The stars belonged to all races, but now they turned quieter, because everyone feared what might happen if Earth ever decided to raise its voice again. And so, across 1,000 worlds, a new age began. Not the age of empires, not the age of war, but the age of silence. And in that silence, Earth stood tallest. Not as a king, not as a tyrant, but as the quiet shadow that made the galaxy tremble. Across the galaxy, the silence stretched like an endless shadow. Fleets stayed, docked. Weapons stayed cold. Empires that once shouted their power into the stars now spoke only in whispers. Humanity had shown its hand, and the galaxy dared not play against it again. But Earth was not finished. On a calm morning over the blue oceans of Earth, a signal was prepared. Massive antennas hidden under mountains, satellites cloaked in orbit, and transmitters buried in the crust of moons all powered up together. For the first time since the Silent Treaty, humanity would speak to the galaxy. Not through whispers, not through fear, but through a single broadcast. The message was sent, and across 1,000,000 worlds, screens came alive. Speakers crackled, holograms lit up, and every race, every empire, every council, every citizen of the stars stopped what they were doing and listened. On the screen appeared a human figure, plain black uniform, no medals, no weapons. The face was calm, eyes steady, voice deep and clear. "This is Earth," the figure said. "You have seen what we can do. You have seen what happens when you bring war to our home. We did not ask for conflict, but when it was forced upon us, we ended it." The galaxy waited, holding its breath. The human continued, "We could have destroyed you. We could have ruled. We could have made you kneel. But that is not who we are. That is not why we fight. We fight to survive. And when survival is threatened, we will show no restraint." Behind the figure, the feed changed. It showed flashes of history. The Phantom Legion cloaking into the void. The eclipse awakening from myth. The Ashborn walking through fire. Judicator 1 drifting silently over battlefields, and entire stars swallowed in shadow by the stellar obscura. Every image burned into the minds of the galaxy's people. Proof that humanity's strength was not rumor, not exaggeration, but truth. The human's voice grew sharper. "But remember this. We do not wish for conquest. We do not wish for thrones. We do not wish for chains. We wish for peace. If you leave us in peace, if you respect our borders, then you will never see our weapons again. You will never see our armies. You will never see the darkness we control. The image shifted again. This time it showed Earth, blue and green, spinning quietly in the black. Children played on beaches. Cities glowed with lights. Forests stretched green and alive. This is what we fight for, the human said, softer now. Not for domination, but for home. We guard our skies because this world is all we have, and we will guard it until the stars themselves fade. Then came the final words, slow and deliberate. Remember this, we are not gods, we are not tyrants, we are guardians. Do not mistake our silence for weakness. Do not mistake our peace for surrender. If war comes again, the silence will return, and this time, it will last forever. The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, no one spoke for hours. On worlds near and far, people stared at the empty feed. Leaders turned to their councils in silence. Soldiers lowered their heads, and even the boldest warlords felt their courage break. In the years that followed, the broadcast was replayed again and again. It was called the final broadcast. Some feared it, some honored it, some worshipped it, but no one forgot it. Alien historians later wrote that this was the day the galaxy truly changed, not because of battles, not because of destruction, but because of the choice humanity made, a choice not to rule, but to guard, a choice not to conquer, but to endure. Back on Earth, the commander who gave the broadcast stood alone in the quiet room, staring at the blue planet through the glass behind him. Aides and officers whispered about the reaction, about fear, about silence. He raised a hand, silencing them. It is done. The galaxy knows. Now we wait. If they stay away, we stay silent. If they return with war, then so will we. Far above, Judicator 1 drifted in orbit. A black shape against the stars. It carried no banners, no songs, no noise. Yet every passing fleet turned back when they saw it. The galaxy understood. Humanity did not need to shout to be heard. Humanity did not need to march to be seen. Humanity's silence was the loudest voice of all, and from that day on the galaxy lived in peace, not because they loved humans, not because they trusted them, but because they feared what would happen if Earth ever chose to break the silence again.